Why don't the Americans know this? As actually, those nations that are poor actually have more energy, they're more open, and they're more cohesive. All right, so let me give you an example. This is what we call the Shahad drones. Shahad drones. Each of these drones costs $50,000 at most, okay? At most. It can go as cheap as $35,000 US. But one of them is $50,000. As you can see, you can fit a lot of these drones to a truck that can go anywhere in Iran, and they can hide anywhere. All right? So the thing to understand is, first of all, these drones are cheap. They're easy to make. They make about 500 a day. Okay? And estimates are about there's 80,000 right now that the Iranians have. So they can go on for a long, long time. Okay? And one of these drones, again, can knock out a desalination plant. It can knock out an oil field. It can knock out a hotel. It can do a lot of damage. Okay? And it's easily transportable. You can hide it anywhere. You can use it from anywhere, okay? And that's what the Iranians are using as an offensive weapon. And how do the Americans defend against this? They use something called a THAAD, right? Right, guys? This is what they use. THAAD. THAAD stands for Thermal High Altitude Air Defense. And they also have like Patriot systems. There's a lot, okay? The thing that you need to know about the system is it's really expensive. This missile, guys, costs $1 million. $1 million. So there's this $50,000 drone coming your way, and you throw a $1 million missile at it, okay? And often these missiles miss, so you have to throw 2 or 3 missiles at it, okay? So you're spending $2 to $3 million on each $50,000 that the Iranians spend. That's kind of silly. Second thing you'll notice is that this thing is really big and really slow. And therefore, you can't really move it around. Therefore, it's pretty easy for the Iranians to spot where this is and attack it. And then when these things blow up, that's a lot of money, guys. Okay? Then you're like, what? But this makes no sense. You know the Iranians have drones. They've had drones for like 10 years. You've also seen drones used in the Russia-Ukraine war to devastating effect. Why don't the Americans know this?
Imagine this. A 50,000 drone flies toward a US base. America fires $1 million missile to stop it. It misses. The missile misses, guys. So 2 more missiles are launched. $3 million to destroy 1 cheap drone. Now multiply that by hundreds. That's the uncomfortable math behind modern warfare, and it's changing everything. There's a quiet revolution happening in military strategy, and it's not about bigger bombs or faster jet. It's about cost. On one side, you have relatively cheap mass-produced drones like Iran's Shahad style loitering munitions. Analysts estimate these drones can cost somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000, depending on configuration and production scale. They are small, portable, harder to detect than traditional aircraft, and they can be launched in large numbers. On the other hand, you have sophisticated air defense systems like the US-made Patriot missile system, or THAAD, which stands for Terminal High Altitude Air Defense. These systems are extremely advanced. They are designed to intercept ballistic missiles and high-value aerial threats, but they are expensive. A single interceptor missile can cost around $1 million, sometimes more, depending on the system and variant. Here's where the math becomes uncomfortable. You know, where they say the math ain't matting, and that is true. If a 50,000 drone is heading toward a military base or energy facility, commanders cannot afford to ignore it. They must intercept. If it takes one missile, that's already a 20-to-1 cost imbalance. If it takes 2 or 3 interceptors to ensure the target is destroyed, you're now looking at 2 to 3 million spent to neutralize one relatively cheap drone. And that's before factoring radar cost, system maintenance, personnel, and logistics. Now zoom out. If a country can produce hundreds of drones per day, as some reports suggest, Iran has scaled up production significantly in recent years. The economics begin to favor quantity over quality. This strategy is sometimes called cost imposition. The idea is simple. Force your opponent to spend more defending than you spend attacking. It's not about technological superiority. It's about sustainability. And we have seen this model play out before. In the Russia-Ukraine war, low-cost drones have been used extensively for reconnaissance and strike mission. They have forced both sides to burn through expensive air defense missiles at a rapid pace. The result? Stockpiles shrink, budgets strain, supply chains get stretched. So the question often asked is, why don't advanced militaries simply adapt? The answer is they are. The US and its allies are investing heavily in cheaper counter-drone solutions, including electronic warfare, laser systems, rapid-fire cannons, and mobile short-range interceptors, because using million-dollar missiles against low-cost drones long-term is not sustainable. But here's a critical point. High-end systems like THAAD were not originally designed to shoot down cheap drones. They were designed to intercept ballistic missiles, weapons that cost millions themselves and pose catastrophic threats. When those systems are used against small drones, it's often because they are the only tools immediately available in that defensive zone. So this isn't necessarily about ignorance. It's about adaptation lag. Military procurement cycles can take years. Drone warfare evolves in months. Cheap drones have lowered the barrier to entry for asymmetric warfare. You no longer need a massive air force to threaten infrastructure. You need production scale and persistence. And when energy facilities, military bases, or desalination plants are vulnerable to relatively low-cost strike platforms, the strategic calculus shifts. This is the real story. It's not just about drones versus missiles. It's about industrial capacity versus financial endurance. Can advanced militaries build cheaper defenses faster than adversary can build cheap drones? Can technology like directed energy weapons eventually flip the cost ratio back in favor of defense? Or are we entering an era where saturation attacks become the norm? Modern warfare is no longer just about firepower. It's about economics. Because when math stops mathing, strategy must change. This is a battle many overlook, not on the battlefield, but on the balance sheet. What do you think, guys? Is this the future of warfare? Cheap drones, overwhelming expensive defenses, or will new countermeasures rebalance the equation? Let me know, guys, in your comments. Let's continue watching Status Check. And if you want more in-depth dives into the strategy behind the headlines, subscribe to Status Check and stay informed.